none of the younger guys don't really have money like that. We're older, so if it was like an older man we dated, to see where our future goes, and we rose above throughout that situation. And
In every reality TV family, there is always one quiet figure standing in the background. The one who doesn't scream, the one who doesn't throw drinks, the one who doesn't post selfies with 16 filters, the one who just shows up every single season with a calm voice, sharp eyes, and the kind of wisdom that money cannot buy. In the 90-Day Fiancé universe, that figure is a man named Mike Silva. And tonight, on the Tell-All Tapes, we are finally giving him the documentary he deserves. Welcome back, fans. You are watching the only channel that goes beyond the drama, beyond the lip filler, beyond the cheating scandals, to tell you the real stories of the people who built this franchise from the inside out. Today's story is about the father of two of the most famous twins on television. The father of Darcey Silva, the father of Stacey Silva, the grandfather of Aniko and Aspen Balak. The brother of nobody, the husband of two different women, in two different countries, across two different decades, and the patriarch of one of the most loved and most chaotic families this network has ever broadcast. This is the story of Mike Silva. Stay with me, because what you are about to hear about this man is going to change the way you see his daughters forever. Let's start at the beginning. Mike Silva was born and raised in Connecticut. He was raised on the values that men of his generation were raised on. Work hard, provide for your family, don't complain, don't quit, build something. Eventually, he met a woman named Nancy. They fell in love. They got married. They had children. They had a son first, named Michael Silva II. They had two beautiful twin daughters, born in September of 1974, Darcey and Stacey. Together, this family was the picture of small-town American life. And for a while, things were normal. Things were peaceful. Things were the way Mike had always imagined they would be. But then, life happened. The way it always does. Mike got an opportunity, a career-defining, family-changing opportunity. He started moving up through the ranks of National Oilwell Varco, a major oilfield equipment and services company based in Houston, Texas. Mike worked multiple jobs there. He was a manager of international sales. He was the area manager of capital valves. He was an area director. He was building a real career. The kind of career that promised retirement money. The kind of career that promised security for his children. The kind of career that promised the next generation would not have to struggle the way Mike had to. But that career came with a cost. A big one. By the time Darcey and Stacey were around 12 years old, Mike and Nancy made the decision that broke a lot of families in the 80s and 90s, but defined the Silva family forever. They got divorced. Now, here is where Mike Silva starts to separate himself from a lot of other dads in his position. Most men, after a divorce, distance themselves from their children. They get angry. They get bitter. They make the divorce the focal point of every interaction. Mike did the opposite. He stayed close to his daughters. He stayed close to Nancy, too. Stacey has said publicly that her mom and dad still get along like good friends, even after the divorce, even after all these years. That is rare. That is hard. That is the kind of emotional maturity most reality TV families simply do not possess. So when fans see Darcey and Stacey, in their 50s, still calling their dad multiple times a week, still flying him out to be on TV with them, still posting tributes to him on his birthday, that bond did not happen by accident. That bond was forged by a father who refused to disappear after the divorce papers were signed. Then came 1998. The year nobody in this family will ever forget. Michael Silva II, Mike's only son, the older brother of Darcey and Stacey, was diagnosed with Ewing's sarcoma, a rare and aggressive form of cancer, the kind that hits young men in their 20s and shows no mercy. Michael was 27 years old. He fought. He fought hard. And on the 11th day of July, 1998, Michael Silva II passed away. Now, fans, I want you to think about what that must have done to Mike Silva, a father in his late 40s at the time, watching his only son die before him. The natural order of things shattered. The dream of seeing his son get married, have kids, build a career, all of it, gone in a single hospital room. Mike Silva, after losing his only son, did what a lot of men of his generation do when they don't know how to grieve out loud. He poured himself into his work. He poured himself into his daughters. and he made a decision that would shape the rest of his life. He took a job overseas, in China. 24 years in China. 24 years. Read that number again. Mike Silva spent 2.5 decades living and working in China, primarily as the chairman of a company called MaisonWorleyParsons. That is the level of executive position most people only dream of. That is the kind of position that requires global travel, fluent communication across cultures, leadership of huge teams, and complete dedication. And it came at a price. In interviews captured on Darcey and Stacey, Mike has been heartbreakingly honest about that price. He has acknowledged on camera that he missed a lot of his own children's lives because of how often he was traveling for work. He has admitted that he was not always there for the small moments, the school plays, the bad days at school, the breakups, the graduations. He missed pieces of his daughter's lives because he was building the foundation that would, one day, make their lives possible. Some fans might judge him for that. I am not going to. Because the truth is, Mike Silva did what millions of immigrant and working-class fathers around the world have always done. He sacrificed his presence to provide for his daughter's future. And the result of that sacrifice, fans, is the empire we see today. Darcey and Stacey grew up knowing they were safe. They grew up knowing the bills were paid. They grew up knowing that no matter what life threw at them, their dad was working somewhere in the world to make sure they had a soft place to land. And that knowledge, even in absence, becomes a kind of love. A quiet love. A working-class love. A love that doesn't show up on TV, but shows up in every single decision the twins have made about who they are willing to date, marry, and trust. Now let's talk about Mike's romantic life after Nancy, because this is where it gets interesting. Mike, while living and working in China for over 2 decades, eventually got engaged to a Chinese woman. Stacey has confirmed this on the show. Mike's fiancé is from China, and the relationship has been a quiet, steady part of his life. Now, fans, you have to appreciate the poetry of this. Mike Silva has a Chinese fiancé. His daughter Darcey ended up with a Bulgarian husband. His daughter Stacey ended up with an Albanian husband. The Silva family, somehow, became the most internationally connected family on TLC. Stacey even joked on the show that maybe Darcey and her get their attraction for foreign men from their dad. It's a cute theory, but there is something deeper going on too. Mike, by spending so much of his life overseas, modeled for his daughters that love can cross borders, that family can transcend language, that the most important relationships are the ones built on respect, not zip codes. Whether that is a good thing or a complicated thing depends on which season of 90 Day Fiancé you are watching at any given moment. But it is, undeniably, a Silva thing. Around season 2 of Darcey and Stacey, Mike made an announcement that warmed the entire fanbase's heart. He was going to retire after more than 2 decades in China, after all those years of missed birthdays and missed milestones, after everything he had built. Mike Silva was going to come home. He was going to spend time with his daughters. He was going to spend time with his granddaughters, Aniko and Aspen. He was going to finally do the thing he had not been able to do for most of his life. Be present. He said it himself on the show. Quote, "The best part about being a grandfather is to be around for the little things." The little things, fans. After a lifetime of being the man at the top of an industry, after running operations in China, after rising to chairman, after building an entire career that took him around the world, what Mike Silva said he was looking forward to most was the little things. That is when you know a man has lived enough life to understand what actually matters. And then, in the middle of all that joy, tragedy struck again. During Darcey and Stacey season 4, the fans got hit with one of the most emotional scenes the show has ever produced. Mike called his daughters. He sounded off. His voice was slurred. He told them he had been sitting at home when something felt wrong. He said his thoughts had abruptly disappeared. He said his eyes had gone fuzzy. He said he had gotten up to look in the mirror and his balance was off. He said he had almost fallen. He called his doctor. The doctor told him the truth, that no daughter ever wants to hear about her father. He had suffered a stroke. A mini-stroke, technically, but a stroke nonetheless. He explained to his terrified twin daughters that there are many stages of stroke, all the way up to embolism, which kills you. Darcey and Stacey, across the phone line, started crying. The footage is heartbreaking. The man who had carried them their entire lives was suddenly fragile. The strong, steady patriarch of the family was suddenly facing his own mortality. And for the first time, the daughters who had always relied on their dad realized that one day, sooner than they wanted to think about, he was not going to be on the other end of the phone. That is a moment every adult child eventually has, fans. And the Silva twins had it in front of millions of viewers. Thankfully, Mike recovered. He took it as a wake-up call. He doubled down on his retirement. He doubled down on his family. He started showing up more. By the time Darcey was filming 90 Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After, Season 9 in 2025, Mike Silva had quietly become one of the most powerful behind-the-scenes characters of the entire franchise. Why? Because Darcey said, on camera, that the only way she can make her husband, Georgi Rusev, accountable for anything is to put him in a group text chain with her father. Let me say that again, because it is one of the funniest, truest, most relatable lines in the history of this show. Darcey, a 50-year-old woman, married to a Bulgarian man, has to add her dad to the group chat just to get her husband to pay rent. That is the power of Mike Silva. That is the level of respect every man in the Silva twins' lives has had to earn or fear. Florian had to deal with Mike. Georgi has to deal with Mike. Jesse Meester avoided Mike like the plague. Tom Brooks barely got close enough to Mike to be in the same building. There is a reason. Mike Silva does not play games. He does not buy charm. He does not get blinded by accents and abs. He looks at the men his daughters are dating, and he asks the only question that actually matters. Are you here for my daughter? Or are you here for something else? And when the answer is something else, Mike Silva makes sure his daughters know it. In October of 2025, Darcey made a public post for Mike's birthday. She called him, quote, our Day One King, forever the legend behind the twins. Day One King. Read that line again. After every man who has come and gone from Darcey's life, after every husband, every fiancé, every Instagram boyfriend, after every heartbreak and every reconciliation, the only consistent man in her life is the man who held her hand the very first day she came into this world. Mike Silva. The same is true for Stacey. The same will be true forever, because here is what I want you to take from this entire video, fans. The Silva twins do not just have a dad. They have an anchor. Most reality TV stars come from broken families. Most reality TV stars are out there chasing love because the love they got at home wasn't enough. The Silvas are different. The Silvas had Mike. And even when Mike was on the other side of the planet, even when he was missing birthdays and holidays and graduations, even when he was making the painful choice to be a provider instead of a presence, his daughters knew. They always knew that somewhere in Beijing or Shanghai, their dad was thinking about them. Their dad was working for them. Their dad was coming home. That kind of certainty, fans, builds a different kind of woman. It builds women who are brave enough to fly to Albania to meet a stranger. It builds women who are brave enough to get on TV and fight for love in front of the world. It builds women who keep coming back, no matter how many times their hearts get broken, because deep down, they know what real love looks like. They saw it. They lived it. They learned it from him. Now, where is Mike Silva today? As of late 2025 and into 2026, Mike continues to be a steady presence in his daughters' lives. He is enjoying his retirement. He is spending time with his grandkids. He shows up in the group chat to keep Georgi in line. He sends private messages to Florian. He is the off-screen voice that, in many ways, is shaping the on-screen story of the entire franchise. He is also, as far as fans can tell, in good health. The mini-stroke was a warning, and he listened to it. Darcey continues to credit him in interviews. Stacey continues to mention him in her music. Aniko and Aspen continue to share content with their grandfather. The Silva family is, in 2026, more tightly knit than they have ever been. And Mike, the king behind the twins, is right at the center of it. So here is what I want from you, fans. Tell me in the comments below. Honestly, is Mike Silva the best dad in the entire 90 Day Fiancé franchise? Better than Big Ed's mom situation? Better than Jasmine's parents? Better than anybody else's family figure we have seen on this show? Is Mike Silva the gold standard? And second question, was Mike right to spend 24 years working in China while his daughters were growing up? Some of you are going to say yes. He provided. He made the empire possible. He gave his daughters a soft landing. Others of you are going to say no. He missed too much. The price was too high. Their relationship suffered. I want to hear both sides. Tell me where you stand. And tell me this too. Why do you think Darcey trusts her dad more than her own husband? Why does she put Mike in the group chat to control Georgi? What does that say about Darcey's marriage? What does that say about Mike's authority? Drop your honest take below. And if you have a father figure in your life, like Mike Silva, somebody who carried you, somebody who showed up, somebody who taught you what real love looks like, drop a crown emoji in the comments for him too. Let's flood the comments with crowns tonight, fans. For Mike Silva, for our dads, for the kings. If this hit you in the chest, smash that like button. Subscribe to the Tell All Tapes for new 90-day fiancé documentaries every single week. Share this with somebody who needs to hear a story about a real one. This was the Tell All Tapes, and we will see you in the next one.